Hello and welcome to the Piano Man's Library. I am Fern, the Piano Man's wife, and I finished a few books in the first half of December and I thought I would share them with you. So the first one was also the last book that I needed to read for the book bingo that I did this year, and it was Diana Mosley's autobiography, A Life of Contrasts. And she was married to the leader of the fascist party in England at the time. And yes, her childhood was that was the most fascinating for me. They came from a wealthy family, wealthy in property, that is. They didn't have any or a whole lot of money unless Dad sold something or some property. Yeah, that was quite interesting. And then her first marriage was a sensible one because Father had said that he was not going to leave them anything. And then she met her second husband, got rid of the first, and yes, became Mrs. Mosley. She, along with her sister, were acquaintances with Hitler, and I have lots of tabs on that section. She did go into a number of different things, but the things that I wanted to know most, that I probably can't talk about at all on YouTube, yeah, those things she didn't enlighten me, so that part was disappointing. And then she and her husband were both arrested just right after the war was declared, and they spent the whole war in prison. It was, if you had money, you could still get pretty much whatever you want. You just had to live in the terrible conditions. So she wasn't that hard up. And then after that, after the war was over, they started their life. They got back into everything that they were doing before, and a lot of traveling, and yeah, that part of the book, it went really quickly. It wasn't all that exciting for me, but yes. So that was the first one that I read, and then I decided I needed to start getting some Christmas cheer going on. So I picked up this book, The Christmas Joyride by Melody Carlson, and this was fun. This was a good Christian book. It's actually published by Guideposts. So you have this sweet old lady in her 80s, who her sons have arranged everything that she's going to have this very nice apartment to live in that's an assisted living place down in, I think it was in Arizona. And she had been living in the family home in or around Chicago. And so she decides, after she sold her house and got more money for it than she had planned, than she had asked, and the little lady had what was her name? Oh, Joy. She had a blog, a Christmas blog, and so she had this contest on her blog, wanting to know who needed a boost of Christmas cheer for this Christmas. That as long as they were along Route 66, so she had several people enter her contest. And so she went through her garage and all of her Christmas supplies, decorations and whatnot, and she packed them all up, labeled them. She got her old motorhome out of storage, got it all fixed up, decorated it, and she got her neighbor to come along with her, and they went to, I think it was 7 different places. They decorated for these people, and it was they did more than that, but it was very, very good. And the tear factor near the end was a lot. So, very good read. That didn't take me long to get through at all. And then after that, I had won this book in a draw last month, I think. And The Outlaw's Friend, A Christmas Story of the Blessed Solanus Casey, and it is by Susan Peake. This is a good little story, too, for Christmas. And so the man who became Solanus Casey, I don't think he was a priest. I think he was just a brother. I'm not sure. In an order. He entered an order. Anyway, the first part of it was his journey to, I think it was in northern Michigan, to where this order is. And it was right before Christmas, and he was referring to that he was going to jail. And it wasn't until he actually got to this seminary, or this this seminary it would have been, that he actually said, recognizing himself, hey, this is not jail, this is this is God's plan for me. And you get the backstory as to why he said that. And then you also get to meet in the second part of this book, you meet an outlaw, because this takes place in the 1800s. Before he joined this order, he worked in a prison where this outlaw was. And there's a number of famous outlaws. And this one, the youngest of the outlaws, by the time his 75-year sentence was over, he was the only one that was still alive out of all of them. And so he went, it was not long after this man passed away, and so he went and he found his grave and paid his respects for all of the prayers that he gave to him while he was there. Anyway, it's very, very short. But it was very good. Then I read A Knightsbridge Christmas. Just a quick little paperback. Romance. It was all right. This one here I'm definitely keeping. I will read that again in a year or two. This one I won't be hanging on to. It was all right. My biggest beef with this one was the ending. It just seemed to end. It didn't. Yeah. It was all right, but it didn't impress me much. Okay, and then this one here. I'm trying not to make this video too long. I had not read anything at all by Kristen Hanna, and her most recent novel didn't impress me, although it's all over BookTube. But when I was at the library, we only had a minute there, and I happened to see this book by Kristen Hanna, Comfort and Joy, on their display right inside the door, and I was like, okay, well, I want to find out what kind of a writer she is, and, you know, I'll just grab one of these quick ones, another Christmas book, and, you know, see what she's all about. So, this book, I could not put it down. Well, I had to a couple of times because, you know, there's life. But I didn't want to. And it was a fascinating story. I wasn't sure during the first chapter. It kind of gave her back the main character's kind of backstory. She came home from work, found her husband in bed with, you know, someone very close to her. And I was like, oh, well, you know, and then she had a hard time getting her life together again after that. And she gets on this plane. She has a confrontation with said person, and she runs to the airport, drives to the airport. This is right before Christmas, and jumps on this plane. It's a charter plane going to Hope because she needs hope. The plane crashes. Okay, so I should say that this book is in first person, and it's you know everything that's going on from her point of view, and so in the plane crash, she's quite descriptive. So I must say that the one thing with this book is if you have any plane phobias, yeah, this book would not be for you. But yes, it was quite vivid. And she leaves the plane, and in the explosion that takes place after this plane crashes, she's blown a good ways away into the trees. And instead of going back to where the rescue people are starting to be, to gather, and the other people that were on the plane, she goes off through the bush, through the trees, the forest, and down the road, and to this fishing lodge, and meets, she wants to stay there, and she meets this little boy. And since she was a teacher, or she worked in a school, she was a school librarian, she talks to this boy, and he had just lost his mother, and his father had come back, and they weren't close. So she helps them work through this. And then she wakes up. So I won't get into what happened, but it's a truly beautiful story, fascinating. It's very unique. And it is a romance. So, and it is a Christian book. Although this author portrayed them as Catholics, and I don't think they were. I don't think she is. So it wasn't quite accurate in a few little spots, but it was very, very good, and I recommend it, unless of course you have issues with plants. But yes, if I can find this book, I actually would like to buy it at some point. And that has me wanting to maybe check out some of her other backlist books. This one was published in 2009. So if I can find some other Christian fiction of hers from around that time, then I think that would be good. Yes. So those are the books that I was reading this month so far. I have lots of other ones on the go, but I'll get to them when I'm finished. And what have you been reading? Can you let me know in the comments below? If you liked this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye.